All right. Welcome to our post-election podcast. Let's talk real estate and stuff. I am here with my co-host Carlos Zamora from InvestorFuse slash Carrot. And of course, y'all know me, Pop Up P, the MHP operator. How you doing today, bro?
It's a crazy week.
It
Crazy week.
is,
A
which
lot of
is
people.
Yeah, that's what I want to focus on today. It's real estate and stuff. I would love to talk about the election,
Mhm.
feelings about it, thoughts going through your head as we did it, and then touch on some other stuff like mobile home parks, what we got going on, and just some stuff I had with some buyers for some wholesaling and everything. But man, Trump 2024, Trump 2024.
Stayed up late to see what was going on.
Yeah, I
It's
did too.
unfortunate. I'm hoping that a higher percentage of people in the country can be happy, and
Dude.
united. Despite me thinking that the best of the two options resulted in a win,
Yeah.
I'm hoping that over the course of time we can become more united. Because at the end of the day, that's really what it's all about: is being a united country, being the best country. When we're the best country, we can help the world. Kind of like when you're the
Yeah.
best version of yourself, you can help other people.
Yeah, who was it? Kuma was talking about he was up there and he was talking about like what people need to understand is whether you like Trump or not, what the people have essentially determined and what I agree with. I mean, I love Trump. I'm not I feel like I'm not swayed by the bullshit lawfare that they used and the rumors and stuff about him. I like his style, but I think what a lot of people need to understand is it takes a ugly person to do an ugly job. It's not easy. What we're asking of the president to do, what the American people are asking the president to do, is a hard, dirty, and tough job. It
Mhm.
is to clean up the deep state. We want our food healthy. We want our people healthy. We want to get rid of the pharmaceutical stuff. We want to be able to live in a free country, get the immigration down. We want our jobs first, America first. It's not that we don't want other people to come in. We need to focus on us and our needs than other countries. And it's not easy because with the industrial complex and the military complex, it's not easy. Pharmaceutical lobbyists, it's not easy to do that. And what we're saying is, we're like, Trump, we're asking you to do this job for
Mhm.
us. As American people, we're asking you to come in and do what we can't as the citizens. So we're electing him to go do this job. And I think that's what's important. It's not about him. Is he the best person to do him? And yeah, because he is. Like I was watching some clips of his, like where he's just going at like news reporters and he just takes
Mhm.
no bullshit, man. And it's like that's what you need. And case in point is like immediately you start seeing these headlines in these other countries just immediately backpedaling on stuff that they were doing as soon as word that Trump was elected. It's China and Russia, they're all now open to talking. Hamas wants an end to the war. Saudi
Mhm.
Arabia wants a meeting. And it's like, dude, all these people are like, okay, maybe this country can't be taken advantage of anymore. Maybe we can't siphon from them. And it's like, that's what we want of Donald Trump. It's not so much for a lot of people, it wasn't so much that do they love him or not. They think he is the best man for the job. And
Mhm.
it's not even about being president. It is a dirty job that only I feel that he could do. Because again, I don't believe the bullshit of he's beholden to people. I don't believe that. I think it's evident that he's not. Otherwise, you wouldn't try to bankrupt him, jail him, impeach him, and kill him if he was beholden to people. It's the fact that he is threatening the status quo that they tried to do that, and that's what it is. And it's like, for the Democrats and the people who are trying to wrestle with it, like you said, trying to come to common ground, you've lost nothing.
Mhm.
You've lost nothing. Allow us to do our job now, the conservatives and the Trump administration, to do our job to make your life better. And that's where it comes from. And it's like, RFK, Tulsi Gabbard, Elon Musk, it's like, and you got JD Vance and all these
I
people.
love the team. The supporting team, yeah, is my favorite thing about it.
And now he's got, what is it, Joel Salton, regenerative farmer, going to head the
Mhm.
USDA,
I
and
like as his main mentor growing up.
he's highly respected in the
Jeff
homesteading and
Salatin.
yeah, in the agriculture industry. Yeah, Salatin. Yeah,
Mhm.
um, he's going to be take a position in the USDA.
Mhm.
He is now, and here's the other thing of what I don't think. It's we want our voices heard. He is now saying what Trump did was he long before, usually at now is when a transition team is paid for by the accounting department of the government. Now instead, Trump started this months ago, and he put RFK in charge of it to start this transition team of who to hire. And what they're doing is they're reaching. It's kind of like that movie Invincible with Mark Wahlberg, the true story of that the running back or the receiver from the Philadelphia Eagles back in like
Oh yeah.
they're like, hey, listen, we need help. We're going out to anybody and everybody. You don't need to be a professional athlete. We're opening up tryouts. And that's what they're doing. They're literally posting and saying, the American people, we may not know. And RFK put this out there. He's like, we may not know. And he did it because he's in charge of this. He may not know who the right people are, but they're like, we're sure you, the American people, do. Make your nominations of who you think should be placed in positions in our administration, and we will look at them. And Joel, like in the regenerative farmer, he is number one. Like they pulled him. He's not a politician.
Mm-hmm.
He's not a
I
career
love that.
politician. Elon Musk's not a career politician. These people are all successful in their own right now, coming to help the American citizens, and that's what excites me. And then they started this thing called Policies for the People, and it's a website where you could go on, and I might have messed that name up. I think it's People for Policies or Policies for the People or whatever, and where American citizens can now go on and make suggestions for policies that they want to see enacted. So the Trump administration can consider them and see what they could do. Things like term limits,
Mm-hmm.
things like not allowing pharmaceutical companies to advertise drugs on TV. These things that America wants. It's the first time our voices have actually been heard. The only other way we've been heard is through voting and calling our local representatives, which, let's be honest, that has done nothing for us.
Mm-hmm.
We're where we're at because of the old way of doing things. And now they're basically like, hey, we're opening up tryouts, people. Not only do we need to know who to hire, like make your recommendations, but let us know what you want us to do.
Yeah.
And never before in history has that happened. And that's what, like, as I'm seeing this stuff come down the line, he is now not where I think he made the mistake last time is he tried to do it himself. And he listened to the wrong people and he admitted that. Now I think we're seeing more of the businessman Trump. He's like, I got 4 years. There's nothing else they could do to me. The people have unanimously, 75 million voters, popular and a landslide electoral college victory, 1 year term. There's nothing that they could do. The first time around, the day he started, he was being impeached. He was
Mm-hmm.
nonstop. They were trying to take him down. He was fighting every step of the way. Now, 4 years. He's like, I
We'll
can do
see.
what I want. I got the House.
We'll
I got
see.
the Senate.
He's got to get in there safe, and I hear
Yeah.
you, but let's.
So I think I'm excited for that, but it's like I will say I've seen I'm a part of some chats, and like I woke up the next day and I'm reading the chats, and like I see like existential threats. People like one person had to take off work. They didn't know what to do. The world's over. They couldn't believe people voted against women, and it's like they're just distraught that Trump won. And it's like, really? One, if Trump won or lost, just like when he lost in 20, well, he didn't lose, but like when it was stolen from him in 2020,
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't crying. I wasn't distraught. I just continued life. And although life got worse for us as Americans and myself, I didn't whine about it and say my life was over. I just made the best of a bad situation. And because it truly was bad, it wasn't perception of being bad. Like I think we all know, it really got bad. It just kept declining. And it's like, dude, like calm down. Like things are going to get better. The tariff thing, all those things are going to be hugely beneficial to us. He's even tossed around the idea of income taxes going away. Like that'd be huge too, whether he does it or not. It's the fact that he's thinking of these is where I'm going back to now, Carlos, of saying now we're seeing the businessman Trump, the big picture idea guy, and not doing it himself. And now saying, I'm just going to put these people in place. And now I'm going to let them do their work, like RFK.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm glad RFK is not president, and I'm glad he can focus solely on his one mission.
I'm super pumped for RFK. That might be the person I'm most pumped about. That has some help for the country.
And I know you eat healthy, and I get it, and you try, and you're organic, and you're doing all that stuff. But like
I told Papa P,
yeah,
just behind the scenes, I told Papa P I did from a farm. I got food poisoning, like throwing up this morning. I thought I'm a little out of it today, but
yeah,
you still eat healthy despite that.
Yeah, I mean, listen, dude, like you just got to do what you got to do. But
you do.
I just think those things, like as a parent, like it's tough. Every single thing that is advertised for kids, I have to be double checking because they all lie. Everything in these things are just
Mhm.
horrible for kids. There is no good fast food. There is no good snacks. You have to spend a shit ton of money to get good.
Mhm.
And it's like I'm hoping that all stops.
Yeah, yeah, that's huge. Something I'm also very passionate about. Yeah, the
So
people that are upset, I totally get that. That's the thing. That's the thing that does get me with Trump, and I'm not saying how much it's deservingly so that
it's not
these people
deserving
that
enough.
have that
They're just
crazy
they're fucking dumb. They're
the
fucking dumb.
that doesn't help the morale though. Right now, that makes it worse.
I think no,
So I'm with.
I think they need to reconcile with the fact of their incorrect thinking of Donald Trump and how they came to those thinking, how they came to that thinking, the lies being told against them. I think people need to reconcile not with Trump being president, but with the fact that they were lied to for 4 years. The fact that 20 million votes or 15 million votes disappeared. That in the previous elections from 2004 on, it was 65 million voters for Democrats, 69 million,
Mhm.
65, 80 million, and then again 65. Where did those 15 million votes come from? Out of every election in the last 20, 30 years, there was never that many people voting. That between Donald Trump and Biden, of all the registered voters, there was an extra like 15, 20 million votes that we got above the registered. And typically on an election, we receive usually 2 to 5 million below the registered voters in an election. And now you're telling me in 2020 that happened. That was why number one that started it. And when people believed that Biden got those votes, they were allowed to then lie to the people about everything else because that was bought hook, line, and sinker. And then it went downhill from there. His condition, who's governing, and then the attacks on Trump, everything was all lies of that's why people are where they're at in their mind because of where they were manipulated to be. And that's my belief. And I
Mhm.
feel like it's a sound belief. The
Mhm.
abortion lies about what Trump did, Agenda 2025 lies, the allegations of sexual abuse lies, the 34 felony count lies. All these things formulated the opinions of 65 million people.
Mhm.
And luckily we had 70. Luckily we have Amish. Thank God for my home state and the Amish in my state. Growing up in Pennsylvania, people always looked at the Amish like, oh, they're weird. Like, okay, the Amish, they don't do what we do. And as you grow up, you're like, man, the Amish are really living life. Like they work good with their hands, they farm their own land, they don't need what we need. They have values, and they've never really voted. And then there was
Mhm.
one guy in Pennsylvania who marshaled over like 150,000 Amish to register to vote. And Pennsylvania was flipped, it is said, by those people's votes alone.
That's
That if
crazy.
the Amish came out because they were done. And rumor is it was because of the targeting the Amish guy who was selling raw milk. And
Yeah.
that, like, they were like, no, we don't want the government. And they were usually left alone. They finally experienced what the rest of America experiences with being put down by a lawfare government. And they were like, nah, dude. And
That's
they
what
hot,
changed the election.
yeah,
Or
they
I guess he
did.
could have won without Pennsylvania though, or no?
I don't, well, yeah, I mean, at this point, he really could have but Pennsylvania flipped it. I was surprised he won the blue wall states, but you're right, because those 19 votes or whatever, he still would have been over 270.
Still big though.
Still
Still big
huge.
though.
Still huge. I'm still giving props to the Amish.
Yeah. Oh
I feel like
no.
we need to be celebrating the Amish nonstop.
Go. No electricity. No technology this weekend. No car. No
Just
traveling.
like
Just
we
an honor.
just it becomes like Donald Trump names like the weekend, November 5th is now official Amish Day.
That'd be funny.
He makes a national holiday.
Is that what
I
he's
don't know.
thinking?
So I had my son up. I mean, he was pumped. He was like watching the TV. I was doing work and I have a TV out in the office and he was like sitting there reading me off the stats. He's like, okay. He's like, we're like, whatever, 75. Kamala's at like 21 or whatever. And he's like, Dad, we just won West Virginia. And he's, ah,
Right.
Kamala won this. How did she win that? And he's watching it. And he stayed up till 9 or 10, I think, even. He was up pretty late to watch like some states flip. And then I went to bed. I couldn't stay up. I went to bed at like 11. I woke up at 4 when I normally get up, and I
I
was like,
stayed
do
up
I
till 4.
did you?
Mm-hmm.
I went to
3:30,
bed.
4.
I was afraid. My first thought when I was laying there and I rolled over was, do I want this to be a bad day? Like, should I check my phone and start my day off like shit? Because I when I was watching the counts, I didn't think he was going to win PA. I didn't think he was going to win. What was it, Michigan or whatever it was? And I was like,
Georgia was close for a little bit too.
yeah,
Carolina and Georgia, they waited, and it was interesting cycling between different channels too. CNN was actually the
Yeah.
silver hair dude that like is on the board doing it. That was actually the person I liked the most on CNN.
Yeah, dude.
MSNBC is heavy left.
Yeah.
Fox News is right, and
Yeah, I watch
CNN
Fox.
traditionally is left, but I feel like they were pretty down the line even. I like that. I forget the silver hair dude and Jake Tapper, but I was between that and Fox News. I did check MSNBC a couple times, and they had some crazy takes on there, so I was just flipping between CNN and Fox News. I had half a mind to, if it wasn't a school night and I was so tired, I had half a mind to drive up to West Palm, just go fast on the highway there, shoot up there in like an hour. That would have been funny. Patrick Bet David was hosting an event too for like $75. You could go chill it in Fort Lauderdale at his thing. That would have been cool too.
That would have been, you should have done it. I was so my daughter, she's at Auburn, and I posted a video on my social media. So they have this thing every time they win a football game, and it's actually in the budget. Every time they win a football game, there's a tree that they teepee. They call it, like, they just toilet paper the tree, and and they start doing their War Eagle chants and all that stuff. And supposedly at like 3 a.m. or 2 a.m., whenever it was announced that Trump was pretty much going to win, most of the student body went down with like American flags. They were singing the national anthem, TPing the tree, cool, singing God Bless USA. I woke up and I was like, where the F were you? She was sleeping, obviously, but I was like, brah, like, these are the people. She's a freshman. Like, these are the people you need to be hanging out with and making friends with. You should have freaking been there. Because she was saying that the vibe on her campus for like a lot of the girls that she knows were all Kamala, and it was all about like women's rights and stuff. And she was like, Dad, I'm really worried he's going to lose. And I'm like, well, one, all those people are probably voting in Alabama, and Alabama is not turning blue, so their votes don't matter. So don't worry about that. And I was like, but that's the general consensus for a lot of young women, is that's a lot, not all of them, but she was really concerned. And then she woke up and messaged me that he won. She was excited. I was excited. So, God, I was so
SEC was all SEC country was all red.
I mean, the entire country was red, bro.
Yeah, even California. I saw your boy Devin Wayne posted California today. California's like,
oh, he took over a whole shit ton of counties. Yeah, he flipped so many. I saw a map of county, county by county, and he flipped the majority of them. And it's funny, and I'm not saying there's any evidence or proof. They did an overlay of the map of the places Kamala Harris won and the places where Donald Trump lost to the voter ID registration. And it's funny that the states that she absolutely won were the ones that required no voter ID.
Saw that.
And I mean, mine did. Over here, I went and they were like voter. I was like, oh, so you need this.
I needed a license, but it was still in South Beach. It was still very official at the Miami Beach Convention Center. Very official. They give you a receipt after, but I didn't need a voter ID. I like kind of forgot it because I went there. Yeah. I just shot over there, early voted.
No, I'm sorry. Then I lied. I needed a driver's license. I did not have my voter ID registration card. If that's what we're
that's
saying.
What it is.
Yeah, I messed up what I said. I needed a photo ID to verify my identity, to go for them to look me up at my correct polling place to see that I was a registered voter. And she looked me up, verified me, scanned my paper ballot, and I filled in the little circles.
They give you a little receipt that you voted. Yeah. They find your name, everything like that. Yeah, they do have separate voter, which I've gotten in the mail before, but I got over there. I'm like, oh man, do I need to have?
Yeah, I didn't know where I put that thing. It's like a little card they send.
Yeah, I have it somewhere in the mail. Yeah, in my mail section somewhere there. I was like, let me just go over there with my license. They find it in the computer.
Yeah.
This is a thing though, Papa P, because we know Papa P, big Trump guy, publicly supports Trump. There's people that vote. There are a couple classes of people. This is one thing I want to kick to you, and I have a couple things here for you. There are a couple people that voted for Trump, or a couple demographics of people that vote for Trump that publicly support Trump, MAGA hats, put social media posts, stuff like that. Papa P. There are people that don't publicly support Trump because even though they vote for him, speaking for myself, in 2020, I almost voted Biden. I went to the poll voting for Biden because of what I brought up earlier, the morale of the country. I didn't think it was a better candidate, But as a whole, and just kind of how I'm wired as well, it's like that's important for me, the morale of the country. When I got to the booth, though, there are specific issues like COVID suppression and just a ton of sketchiness. That's like one of my biggest things I have against media. That side is like COVID stuff. I'm getting angry even just thinking about it. I couldn't physically vote for Biden, even though my head wanted me to at the last election. So one of my biggest gripes with politics is all these people arguing, whether it's people that we're talking to in our day-to-day lives or just interactions that you're seeing on social media, they're arguing different data sets of information.
Yeah.
Like people, like, for example, the Auburn campus women that are talking about women's rights, the people that are leaning Kamala in that, they have certain data sets of information, and then people that are Trump have different sets. So it's like, I don't have a solution, but that's almost every issue, the perception of Trump. It's different data sets. It's data sets of information, then it's values and beliefs. So there's also a certain scale. Here's like kind of my variables for how someone determines where they vote. There's values and beliefs, and some of the information is true, some of it's not. Depending on how high you weigh your values and beliefs of who Trump is, some people are willing to put more emphasis on like what they believe is going to be better policy for the country, Trump's team, versus a certain threshold of like, values and beliefs he has, criminal stuff like that. And then some people are just have the issues that they want to vote on. There are some people that are just single issue voters. So I think those are kind of the three. Sense.
But that second category that's where I was talking about the manipulation, because they use political lawfare, which is a very third world thing to do. They tried putting him in jail and bankrupting him and killing him. And because of those things, the majority of that second group of what you said, why they don't like Trump, what they believe about Trump, their feelings toward him, were manipulated by the lies of the crimes he did not commit, that were out of just wild, just pulled out of thin air, that through all the media you could see the whole January, it was not an insurrection. People need to look up the definition of an effing insurrection. No one showed up with rifles trying to take over the goddamn country, okay? That was line number one, but they continued to call him an insurrectionist. They compared him to Hitler. They continued to do that. They continued to say they were going to take him down. He's Hitler. They continued to talk about his essay stuff with Eugene Carroll. They continued to talk about the 34 felony counts were nothing more than just incorrect accounting that was never at a federal level and would have never been charged, but they waited 4 years till now to do it, and they stepped way out of hand and it was dismissed. Now, I mean, after months, after it dragging on through the entire election, it was finally gotten rid of. And it's like those things swayed those people. And we've never done that before. We did not try to do that to anybody else, no matter what they went through. Yeah, they may talk about certain things in people's past, like Obama or the Bush, or, you know what I mean? They go through and they talk about people, but never have they ever tried to arrest, throw people through trials, bankrupt them, insane judgment amounts that are just out of this world, $500 million. You know what I mean? Like those things never happen. And that, when you talk to a lot of the people, because I was on TikTok doing lives and arguing with people a lot, and it was like the main points was that I'll never vote for a convicted felon. Well, what if he's not? What if that's
my whole point right there, and why unfortunately it's almost pointless to have debates, because you're arguing different sets of information.
Exactly. What they believe is different, and if what they believe is on a shaky foundation, their entire belief system, and that's why I said what they need to understand is that they were stupid, that they are idiots, and they need to reconcile. You can't go through and reconcile with your emotions if you still believe that the information you had to be true and accurate, because you won't be able to. Because if what you think you believed was accurate information and true, and you believe that, there's no way to reconcile with the fact that you lost. You can accept it, but you cannot reconcile with it. You still won't agree with it until you understand that what your basis of the foundation of information you had was a fallacy and that it was a lie to manipulate you. That's when you can reconcile your emotions to understand what has happened. And I think it all starts with the fact that it's very evident now that the election in 2020 was stolen. Not just before the voting.
People don't think that, though.
And that's because they don't do the research. That's because it was suppressed. They don't watch the videos. They didn't see the Maricopa County coming out and admitting it, Fulton County coming out and admitting it, all these different counties that have come out and proven it. that they went through, finally proven it, the fact that the Dominion lied and that they were actually connected to the internet, the fact that they showed how the ballots were switched. No one believes it because it's not being reported. And instead, what's being reported? Trump stuff. And I was talking to some guy the other day and we were talking about this and I was like, well, what's funny of why is not just the manipulation and the lies, but it's the fact that a president, former president, and a president running for elect, a president trying to be elected, was assassinated or almost assassinated, and we only talked about it for a week.
That is crazy.
If it would have been, and
that
they
is so
shoved,
crazy.
they tried denying it at first, saying we don't know if it's a bullet, there was nothing real, and then washing it off. We talk about school shootings longer than we did about our president being almost assassinated twice. But we've been talking about this bullshit January 6th for 4 years. They talked about it. That is why it's going to be hard for people to reconcile. And when I was in these group chats, that's all their responses were. I can't believe we elected a felon. I can't believe we elected a rapist. I can't believe we elected somebody who is bought by Russia, even though it is proven that Hillary Clinton and them had more ties with Russia.
I hear you and all this stuff until you're blue in the face. We could have the best sales and persuasive people
I get you.
in here in the world, but it's still just different sets of data.
Which is why I don't give a shit.
I'm hearing you. I'm not disagreeing.
I know you're not, but I'm saying I don't think there's going to be a reconciliation. So what I think people need to do, and I bought a shirt with Donald Trump on it with his middle fingers up that says we won. And it's just, we need to live our day and just be like, you guys shut the fuck up and allow the conservatives, family values, healthy people who want healthy, safe, well-funded streets. We want to dismantle the Department of Education, the lobbyists, all these things. Allow us to do what needs to be done and step aside and enjoy the fucking benefits. It's just like when someone goes into war, there's a majority of people who don't have the physical ability, the guts, the ability to fight, or the need or want to fight. So certain people go into battle and they fight to save our country and fight for our rights. And we citizens who are not military get to reap the benefit of those people. And that's what I'm saying is you may not be able to reconcile, you may not be able to be happy about it, just like you may not have been happy with the wars overseas and all that stuff. Just sit back and allow us to do what we need to do so people can be free. That's all I'm saying. And it's just like we you had your shot in 2020, bro, and it didn't turn out good. We listened to you.
So I hear you. There's going to be some healing time for those folks. No matter who wins, you're going to have to focus on yourself. We've said that many, many times on this show with a lot of things. I think what impacts kind of like the three things I was talking about, like different data sets of information. Each person has their own values and beliefs. That's like they put that up against the candidate. Be like, do I resonate with this? Do I not? What their important issues are. There are some people that are 1-2 issue voters. Like some people are like, hey, the war on Israel, I'm a single issue voter on that. So they're going to lean towards Trump, someone that's like taking pictures with the guy, the Israel leader at his personal house, saying all that stuff. What's interesting though is, and what may help both sides, is the media. So it's interesting now the last couple of days of seeing like CNN, MSNBC coming out and speaking about why their party lost, and they're talking more about it. So where we're getting the data sets of information is that will probably be a thing as well, as maybe they'll be more open about it. I think this was also massive and something that's interesting to discuss is where they get the information from. Mainstream media versus podcasts.
Mainstream media is dead. Yeah, it's dead now, dude. Like, I think as you're talking about this, it's like if people are going to reconcile anything, like I said, and realize they're manipulated, mainstream media, no more. Like, I know where you're going with this, talking about why people are saying Kamala lost because she wouldn't sit down with the right people, and she wouldn't everything was so scripted. She didn't sit down with Joe Rogan. That probably killed her. She didn't sit down with the Nelk Boys or with Andrew Schultz. She didn't sit down with Theo Vaughn. She didn't sit down with Aiden Ross. She wouldn't do any of those things because they wouldn't let her, or she was afraid to, because she couldn't just have a free conversation. Any other president-elect or president nominee would have done those things. And that would have given the people a whole different view, because the stuff on mainstream is so scripted and just structured. watching Trump just be himself with Patrick Bet-David and Joe Rogan and like Theo Vaughn, like just listen. I mean, Theo Vaughn, they were talking about crack addicts and drug addicts and
Dillon?
alcoholics. Yeah, they were just talking
Tim
about that.
Dillon, I'm going to go see tonight, actually. I saw he randomly has improv tonight. I just bought a ticket.
Oh, really?
I
And it's
love
like,
Tim Dillon.
so you get to see the person rather than the figure.
Mhm.
In mainstream media, you see the figure, not the person, because it's so adversarial. Like even Joe Rogan, what he's really good at is he just talks to you. Patrick Bet-David is maybe a little less, like he's very strong opinion and he's like, I'm gonna speak my mind and get what I want. Theo Vaughn is very conversational. Same with Andrew Schultz. I mean, Andrew Schultz made jokes at Trump's expense while there and like called him out on stuff,
Mhm.
and it's like, so, but you got to see the real people. And that's what I think flipped it for a lot of Trump people or non-Trump people, was watching him just be himself versus what the media made you believe. So I think now we're going more to Tucker Carlson, Joe Rogan, Theo Vaughn, these people who are just interviewing and reporting in a completely honest and non-scripted way type of thing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. The mainstream media, not to change off too much from this topic, but it's interesting too that the United States is one of only 2 countries that's allowed to have pharmaceutical companies run ads.
It's horrible, man.
That's crazy. And even Tim Dillon, I think it was Tim Dillon was talking about it on one of the episodes, maybe on the Rogan episode, because he went on election night with Rogan. But pharmacies in other countries are just a really
Yeah.
small thing. It's like you have
No.
like one option for whatever you
Oh
have,
yeah,
not marketed.
it's
Here
horrible.
it's like
Yeah, it's horrible.
it's actually crazy. Pfizer stock I saw is going down a little bit
Oh yeah,
this week, which is
good.
interesting. So I don't know. I think there's going to be a lot of benefits. I do care about the morale. I'm very empath, like I feel a lot of people, but life isn't
Yeah,
always
they're gonna have to
sailing for
reconcile
everybody.
with it.
Let me ask you this, just because you have like an election on me. Before the Trump elections, how upset were people of the losing party before like the Trump Hillary election? Was it this level? Is it comparable to this level or no?
I don't. So I only really started in politics around the Trump era. I was paying attention during the Obama stuff because I was in business and it started, that was when I graduated in 2007. So the 2008 and
Who was that?
2012,
Mitt Romney versus Obama?
it was Mitt Romney, and then who's the other one? Somebody who was like a no name, John McCain. John McCain, because he was the VP, right? So it was John McCain against Obama, I think, and then Mitt Romney against Obama. And Mitt Romney like lost and like just got destroyed. But I remember that. And then I also remember the Bush and Al Gore thing because of the hanging chads and stuff. I remember that in 04 or whatever it was.
But were
But
people just angry?
and that's what I was getting at, is I don't recall them being that angry. Even growing up, my dad was big into politics, and I don't ever remember it being like this. And that's because we've never had the media and the propaganda, the ability to propagandize our media and our citizens, because they passed a law that allowed that to happen. And it's like we've never really had that before because we didn't have social media, we didn't have podcasts, we didn't have all these live stream stuff. We just had 8 to 10, you had the news. 5 o'clock, you had the afternoon news. 8 o'clock, you had your primetime news, and that was it. And the next day you shut it off because you had to go to work. You didn't have a cell phone. You know what I mean? Like, so I think it was different, dude. I think now it's so in our face.
Yeah.
You can't even dude, I couldn't even log on. The algorithms work to put it in your face.
Yeah.
So
it's
I
an interesting
think,
day and age that we're in for sure.
yeah, and it's really hard to get away from it now versus then. So even if people were upset, it was so compartmentalized. If you're upset in New York and there's riots, you only saw that on the afternoon news. You didn't see it while sitting at work on your phone all day.
Yeah.
You didn't get clips, and you didn't have texting and group chats and WhatsApps and Facebook groups. You didn't have that. But now we do, and so I think that's what exacerbated it. So I would guess no, but I'm sure somebody better than me can answer it, who is more involved. Like, I really got into politics when Trump, that was the first rally I went to, was the Trump rally in 2016.
Could you see mainstream media, or where will mainstream media be at in 4 years from now? The next election, how different will mainstream media be, if at all?
I think it'll be extremely different. I think a couple things will happen. I think it'll either cease to be a juggernaut. I mean, it's not a juggernaut now, but I think it'll dwindle down. The ratings, the staff, the reporting, I think it'll dwindle down, or they'll reshape. But I think as long as money is involved and the people who own it, listen, dude, like I'd like to think I'm a better person, but honestly, if I owned a news station, I don't know, like what would you have your people do? And you had certain beliefs. Why would you not utilize your assets the way you want to get what you want? That's what people do. And it's like just like you host a rally and you get your voice across, these people have a bigger voice because they're wealthier and they utilize those things, and people who work for them have to follow the rules.
Mhm.
I don't know.
The dynamic of advertising and people making money on television versus podcasting, where there's still even Joe Rogan, has sponsors of the podcast and stuff like that. I'm sure he charges an insane amount of money too. But just that dynamic
I
is
think it's
interesting
going
and different
away though,
too.
man. I think the reliance on it is going away. I think you're always going to have the news and stuff. So unless it changes and they become more like reporting was, like Trump said, he's like, back in the day, I'd have fact checkers calling me, asking me if a story is true and looking for my opinion. And if it wasn't true, they might not post it. He's like, I can't even remember the last time I had a fact checker call me before they posted a story. Back in the 90s, they used to do real reporting, right? Like nowadays, it's just like I hear something, I'm going to write it up, I'm going to make a video about it, I'm going to post it on social media. And with AI, I think it's only going to get worse. I
Hmm.
think the ability to lie is only going to get easier. So unless
Hmm.
something happens in the ownership structure and the law structure, I think mainstream media is only going to go down the road. And I think people are going to only go deeper into who they believe in and who they follow, which is why Megyn Kelly, Tucker Carlson, Joe Rogan, all those people have left the man, right? Candace Owens, they've all left being owned by the man and now control their own content, their own message.
Hmm.
And we as people get to pick who we resonate with the most and trust the most. Like I didn't agree with a lot of Fox News stuff. Like, and I didn't agree with a lot of shit they were saying about Kamala. Like a lot of it, I saw lies, but I was intelligent enough to be like, okay, well that doesn't even make fucking sense. That's a fucking lie. And I was
Hmm.
like, and then that's a double standard. Some stuff they were saying about her, I know Trump does, and it's like that's a fucking double standard. Just like when they're like Trump's a liar, well, so is Kamala. And there's a lot of double standards. You have to be intelligent enough to sort that out, but also be able to pick who you want to get your information from. And that's why I think mainstream is going down. Because even if that media host wants to talk the truth, they can't. Like when I watch CNBC with Joe and Becky and Andrew, I can tell that Joe is a very big Trump supporter, but you could tell he's holding his tongue because he's not allowed to say certain things, and they've cut him off from saying certain things, and they try to rein him in, and he does, and he understands the game. So
Hmm.
he can't, and he'll stutter through stuff because as he's about to say something, he realizes what he's about to say is too strong of his opinion, and he's not allowed to say it. So he checks himself, and it's
Hmm.
almost like keeping a leash on him. And although you know who he's voting for, and he's open about it, he's being held back on voicing his real opinions. Where Joe Rogan, Tucker, Megyn Kelly, Candace Owens, and even some of the Democrat guys like Harry and all those younger guys, like they're allowed to say what they want to say to their own audience, and no one stops them because they're not beholden to anybody. Well, that's not necessarily true because those guys were paid by the Act Blue, but still.
It's interesting times, but I think that the Democrat side, at least from clips I've seen, they seem very sensible in analyzing
Well,
why they didn't win. I guess.
so here's something. Let me throw this out there. I don't want to be the bearer of bad news here. This is just an assumption I have, a thought. Uh, Sometimes things don't make sense to me. And then I start to ask why. When I woke up the next day and he won, and people started to accept it, and Kamala conceded, and nobody was crying foul, except for like the whiners on TikTok, but nobody in the government was crying foul. I
Mhm.
asked myself why. Never before in 2016 and 2020 has that happened when it's going against Trump. All of a sudden now, there's a peaceful transition. They're accepting it. They have fought since 2016 against this man, impeaching him, what, 2 to 3 times? Stories, movies, books, throwing the literal fucking just the whole thing at him. And now, all of a sudden, you guys are just done. You're done. That's it. You're not going to open your mouth. Nancy Pelosi, none of them, Hillary, none of them, Obama's not getting up. None of them are going to fight this. None of them are going to say anything. Or is it because they had a backup plan all along? And they knew that because of what Laura Trump did, Laura Trump immobilized a huge amount of lawyers and poll workers and coalitions to make sure that the cheating didn't happen. They stopped it on site. I mean, there's so many news stories about them fighting things and having lawyers ready to go to stop certain things from happening, which is why I think we had such a quick decision. So kudos to her. But because they couldn't win or put those other 15 million votes in or whatever you want to say was going to happen, they lost. And you're telling me they're just like, oh, well, guys. Or is it that they have another plan?
I saw that too. I saw someone talking about these two
it doesn't
guys.
make sense to me. Like, and that's what I was telling my wife, and I was just like, if I had fought for 8 years against somebody and then I lost, you're telling me that I'm just going to go away and not open my mouth ever again? Bullshit, dude. And then I found it funny, the speech that Biden gave. It's almost like they're prepping and they're trying to make it look like they're so innocent that what's about to happen has nothing to do with them, because he's like, you can't only support the country when you win. You have to support the country when you lose. I'm like, well, that's convenient, but okay, I believe that too. And it's like, I'm like, but it's funny that you're saying that now. And I was like, all of a sudden you guys became saints.
Mm-hmm.
You became the model of ethics. Why? And I believe it's because something between now and January 6th or whatever is going to happen. And
Hopefully
like
not.
you said, like, I hope he stays safe. I think they're going to try. I mean, Rapskin's been saying they're going to try to use the 14th Amendment on him. I don't know if it'll work. They're talking about dismissing I don't know what it is. I just find it odd is all I'm saying. It might just be, what do you call it? Just unsubstantiated fears. You know what I mean? But it's like, I just find it odd that all of a sudden it all stopped.
Well, I saw someone post about this, multiple people. And again, forgive me, I'm at probably 70% brain capacity right now. But the two paths are, one, it's either that or the left was just surprised by such a large victory. And they're like, hey, he literally won the popular vote, the electoral vote. Like, if this is really what people are voting for, that's what it sounds like. People that wouldn't even be involved with it. That's kind of the general sentiment. Outside the people that are super, super upset, like
Yeah.
literally detrimental to their
I
their
agree.
health
I've
reactions.
heard
So I'm
that
hoping
too.
it's that.
I've heard that too, and all the major news people, they're all saying that same line. This is a mandate from the people. Let them do what the people want them to do. I get that. But we would have had that in 2020, bro. Like, because Trump would have blown out Biden if you took away those votes too.
Different
So
sets of information.
I'm just
That's
saying.
the I hear you. I hear your perspective, and there's a lot of merit to it. I'm just saying it's different. That's the issue with politics. Almost every single thing, it's people arguing, steaks versus rice
I get
and
it.
tomato
I'm
cans.
just talking about human behavior. I find it very odd because I don't believe it's proper human behavior that after they lost, they're just done. People in power, when their power is threatened and they lose, they don't just stop.
We'll see. I think they're. I don't know. I think it's a good play of them to be like that's one of the left side's thing is being ethically they're good they're good people, very
Yeah,
nice
so they're
people,
going to
stuff like
say all
that.
the
So
right.
it's
They're going to say all the right things, which they are. They're saying all the right things.
Mhm.
They look magnanimous compared to Trump in 2020. They look like the model transition of power should be. They're doing everything. They're crossing their T's and dotting their I's.
Mhm.
I just think it's counter to what they've been doing and to what they've been trying to do. That's all I'm saying. I don't know.
Hey,
I got
it could
no
change.
evidence or proof. It's just a thought. It's just a theory. I hope I am wrong. I hope we get to it and nothing happens. I would love to see everyone do what they're supposed to do. I'd love to see our country turn around. I'd love to see North Carolina rebuilt. I'd love to see Hawaii rebuilt. I'd love to see California get their water, immigrants go back to their fucking home country. I love the one guy when they're like, when the lady was interviewing the dude for immigration and INS, and she's like, well, you guys want to do mass deportations and you want to deport people with kids. How are you going to separate families or something? And the guy looked at her and he's like, they can all be deported together.
I saw that. That was savage.
And I'm like, fuck yeah, dude. But yeah.
That was definitely savage. It'll be interesting, man. We'll still be talk about it. John, literally one of my favorite people of all time. I've worked with him for close to 9 years. He went a different way voting wise, but it's like,
yeah,
I think we're very.
That's why he's not on now. No, I'm joking.
Yeah.
John needed time. No, he's had some stuff to do. Had nothing to do with the election, but yeah, I found it funny. I do feel that I don't know, something's gonna happen. We'll see. Anyway, but we keep making money no matter what, dude. I'm still moving forward with stuff, still buying parks. I gotta head out next week, so I won't be on the show next week. I'll be out in Hot Springs, checking out this 80-lot park we're picking up on the lake. It's gonna be some stoked. We're renting. I think I'm gonna get an RV, hitch it up to the back, and just fucking drive a little camper. I'm gonna rent this little camper RV and do that, since my parks, I got to go see my current parks in Arkansas and then stay at this new one. And the new one has an RV park across the street. So I was like, well, this is a perfect opportunity, for my investors and stuff. It's like, I want to make sure I'm doing my job. And it's like, man, I'll live for a couple of days across the street in the RV park, literally walk across the street at night, check out the neighborhood, see it like you wouldn't see it when you're doing due diligence. Like, I'll be there for a couple days. I'll 48 hours of just watching this park nonstop and cooking and eating out of this camper and looking across the street and seeing this community we're going to buy, seeing what happens at night, seeing what happens in the morning, walking my dog through. I'm taking my dog and my son. He wants to go. Exciting. And we're just gonna do it. And I was like, otherwise I could stay at my parks have RV hookups too, and I'll just stay there, and I save money on hotels, and it's just something I think we're gonna try out this go round.
It's this stuff with your son now. He's 9 right now.
Yeah.
9 or 10.
Yeah.
The stuff that you're doing with him now is like stuff he'll remember.
Well,
man, it's exciting because I remember like these are the times like I started like I've told you before, like going to run a VHS for this original Star Wars movies, like
you start to remember these things.
Return of the Jedi. I still remember those. Like my dad explained to me, like, well, you could, you could rule the universe with your father, but all that type of stuff. So he'll be remembering election night. That's cool.
Yeah, he's gonna dig in. And it's like a lot of these things. So just so everyone knows, I'm not a conspiracy theorist on just politics. So Elvis is alive. we're going to see Elvis. It is rumored there is a whole group of conspiracy theorists that believe Elvis has been changed his identity and did plastic surgery and all this stuff, and is now a man named Bob Joyce, who happens to coincidentally be a pastor at a small parish in Benton, Arkansas, which is between Hot Springs and Little Rock. So Sunday we're going to go to church. And we're gonna see this supposed Elvis, and we're gonna see if we believe that he is Elvis. He sounds like him, looks like him, has the same mannerisms, voice tones, has the same like pinky issue, facial marks. He's hung out at Graceland, been seen with Elvis's family. His wife is like an old girlfriend of Elvis, has pictures in his house of Elvis's. Like, it's just so many coincidences that people are like, this could be Elvis, and like people say it is. But
the pictures that you showed are convincing.
So anyway, we are going to go determine this. So he's taking off school. I got his mom's approval and to take out of school for a week, 7-8 days to traverse on a road trip. And we're going to go find Elvis.
That's awesome.
So it's going to be pretty sweet. It's like a mini vacation, working vacation.
I love that.
So off we go, dude. But I will be finding out about this park. I'm excited. I gotta get all this shit done, dude. I gotta get it.
Keep us posted in 2 weeks. You have to wrap to us on it in a couple weeks.
Yeah, it's a process, man. We started our loan paperwork and stuff too, so it's gonna be months of work of taking this down. The work's only begun. So
I hear you, man. Well, this is a good app. You'll be missed next week, but John and I will hold down the fort.
I know you will. Lock it down.
Have a great week, guys. Thank you.
All
for
right,
tuning in.
guys.
Focus on
Like-
yourself.
Like and subscribe to our podcast. We do this for you guys. So hit the like button, subscribe to us, forward it to your friends. And if you don't like Donald Trump, leave us some angry messages in the comments. I love arguing with people.